Hello, hello, hello. Happy Wednesday. Looks like there's a lag in my internet, but I think it'll be okay because StreamYard is supposed to account for all that. But thank you for being here. Welcome. If it was Wednesday, I was going to be right here. I am back in Maryland, cold Maryland tonight. It is so cold, well, compared to, the 85 degrees or so that I had in Alabama. It was good while it lasted, but alas, all good things must come to an end. So if you've landed here and this is your first time seeing me, I'm Dr. Twanna Carter, and tonight I have a great one for you. This is a part of my Unlocking the Secrets to Career Success that I'm doing for the month of March. And tonight I'm talking about why Black and Latina women suffer from burnout so much. And again, if you haven't met me before, I'm Twanna Carter as a career coach. I work with stressed, busy women executives who are plagued by imposter syndrome, self-criticism, and doubt. I help them to alleviate their stress so that they can find peace of mind and focus on excelling in their careers. So if you are on tonight, hey LaShonda, I have a cousin named LaShonda. And how are you? Where are you hopping on from, LaShonda? And let me know if it's LaShonda or LaShanda, because I know my cousin spells hers with an O, and I see that you have an A. Let me help me out. Be sure I'm pronouncing that correctly. Okay. As well as you hop on, do drop a note and let me know where you're at, where you're hopping on from. And I do want to say that I just finished eating dinner, so I forgot to rinse and do all that great stuff. But you know what? I won't tell anybody, okay? Right. If you are hopping on from LinkedIn, welcome. For those of you that are hopping on from my Facebook page or my business page or my Courage to Transition Your Career group, you are welcome as well. And also, Women on the Move, right? That is a group that my clients go to after. So she's saying it is LaShonda. Thank you. And so you're in Bmore. Wow, you're about 50, 45, 15 minutes from me. Hey, Holly, you are so welcome. So Holly says, thank you for this. You are so welcome. You know what? We can all use a little help every now and then. For those of you hopping on from YouTube, you are welcome. And for those of you that are seeing this on Twitter, you are welcome as well. So again, if you're just hopping on, tonight I'm talking about unlocking the secrets to career success, why Black and Latina women suffer from burnout, right? And as you see Holly and LaShonda doing, you are more than welcome to make comments. I love it. Ask questions, right? And so we're going to hop right on in and let's talk statistics. If I can get it out right, let's talk statistics for just a couple of minutes. So kind of bear with me, right? And so in a 2019 report by leanin.org and McKinsey and Company, the report found that 45%, that's right, 45% of women in color that report when they're in corporate spaces that they have often been the only person of their gender in the whole space. And so think about it. You're going into your job because you got there, you're moving the shaker, you're sitting in this meeting, and there is no one else as you look out who looks like you. How isolating that can actually feel, right? And in 2020, leanin.org and McKinsey and Company found that women of color held a whopping, I'm just playing, women of color held 3% of the C-suite positions. Three, one, two, 3% of those positions compared to 66% of white men who held them. Okay. And so let's go a little further, especially with the pandemic happening, right? Black and Latina women, like other women, still share the lion's share of household labor and the caregiving in the home. However, Black and Latina women actually spend more time than white women doing housework at a rate of 75% as compared to 55% of white women who are working at least 21 hours per week doing housework, household labor, right? And in our communities, Black and Latina women are probably or more than likely to be taking care of grandmothers, mothers, uncles, aunts, nieces, nephews, and the list can go on, right? And so, what's the point here? You know, like what's the point? Well, what I'm saying is this: the intersectionality of racism and gender go on to affect more Latina and Black women in the workplace than it does any other professional in the workplace, right? What it does is it just adds an additional level of stress that the other professions don't have to deal with, right? It's like for all women, household work and caregiving of the kids, that's a level of stress that we carry with us that not all men carry. And so this is not a beat up man night. And so for my men that are on here, and I do have guys that support me, thank you very much. So we're not beating up on you, but this is just really the fact. When you talk about levels of stress that start to add up and add up and add up, in addition to your career, your chosen career being stressful, you have extra stressors that not everybody else has, right? And then let's go on and add something else to that. And that is the fact that Black and Latina women feel like they're representing their communities. They feel like they have their families and their cultural history on their backs. And so the mantra is, I can't fail. I can't fail. I can't fail. I have to do it right. I have to do it better. I can't fail. Again, another level of stress that we're carrying that not everybody else carries, right? How many of you feel that? Let me know in the comments. Does this ring true for you? And if it does, what part is ringing true for you? You know, because yes, we carry an extra. Being a woman carries a level of stress in the workplace. Being Black and Latina carries another level, and we have to deal with that. And I gotta say, we're amazing when we do it. We are. We are totally amazing when we do it. However, that's why I'm talking about burnout tonight, because we are facing higher rates of burnout. We are, right? When you look at all the things that we carry and the fact that we do feel like we carry our race on our shoulders because we don't want to mess anything up, right? We don't want to do something wrong that adversely affects someone, right? And that is why we're seeing more women in the workplace and certainly more Black and Latina women experiencing burnout. So when we say burnout, what exactly are we talking about? Because it is a word that's tossed around a lot. So what do we mean when we say burnout? There are three components to burnout. Before we get to those components, let me just say that and corporations might not like this, and workplaces may not like this, and organizations may not like this. But at the end of the day, workplaces have the largest share of making burnout better, protecting employees from burnout. That is a function of organizations because it is the work culture that contributes to burnout. Okay. So I want to put that out there first because I don't want to make it seem like that burnout is our fault. Well, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, you didn't do this. That is not actually true. Workplace culture, workplace environments, certainly toxic environments, right? That is what contributes to this long list of things and this whole big mess of stuff that we call burnout. And so when we do talk about burnout, what we're talking about is three components. There are three components from burnout. And the first one most of you have heard of, it's exhaustion. And you hear people say, I'm exhausted. But you also hear people say, I'm exhausted with being a woman of color. I have all these responsibilities. I have all these extra expectations on me. So that's another kind of burnout. Until you get to the workplace and your workplace is now expecting more of you than it does everyone else. That contributes to burnout. And so it is like, if you want to understand really a good analogy for exhaustion, right? It is like if you were to imagine being a race car and your car runs out of gas, it won't go anywhere. You need energy to do your job, to think decisively, to make better decisions, to look at the whole picture, do the analysis, and break it down and figure out what comes next. You can't do that when you're exhausted. You just can't. It is simply impossible. You're not operating at your normal rate of performance. You can't do that. That's exhaustion. You can't seem to bring stuff together. You know that you know it, but you can't seem to put it together to make it work. That is exhaustion. So, yes, it's physical, but it's mental, it's some other things as well. Second component of burnout is cynicism. And this is where you get to the point where nothing matters. It's not going to help. And one especially that when new people come in, you're like, yeah, I give it long enough. I used to be like you. This place is a cesspool. Nothing's going to help. I don't care. It is cynicism is when you no longer feel happy or excited about your job, and you don't feel excited about what you're doing. You don't feel excited about your ability to contribute. You certainly don't like the people in your job sometimes, or a lot of times, depending on where you work, right? And so it's just like having a car with a flat tire. No matter how much gas you put in that car, when it's got a flat tire, you don't go very far. You're just not going to go very far, right? That's the cynicism part. It's very difficult to see the positive in anything because you're so cynical. Okay. And so that third component of burnout, this is the last, is diminished professional efficacy. So efficacy is just a word that says, I believe that I have the strength, the ability to do well. And that third component of burnout affects your personal advocacy, right? And so it's like if there's gas in the car, let's say you're not exhausted, there's gas in the car, and let's say that there's no not much cynicism, you've actually got air in the tire, but the car isn't working right. It's not functioning properly. So you're not going to go anywhere very fast, and you're not going to go very far, right? And so you can have just one component of the three components and be experiencing burnout, or you can have two, or you can have all three of them, right? And then if you look at, when you have this lack of efficacy, you don't feel like you can contribute, right? Your work just isn't as good as it used to be. Your performance really starts to lag behind. Then as women, we throw something else on that fire. We then throw guilt on the fire, right? We throw self-recrimination on that fire. So we're already burned out, but then we start heaping self-criticism on top of feeling burned out. And then we start heaping on doubt. Maybe I shouldn't be here. Maybe I shouldn't have been here. Maybe I don't deserve this job. And then because you're already exhausted, then imposter syndrome jumps at the top of that, right? And you're feeling all of that at one time. So yes, if you're feeling burnout, you'll get parts of this or all of it. Anybody out there, drop burnout in the comments if you feel burnout, right? If you've got one of them, let me see. Let's do this. If you've got one of the components of burnout, drop a one in the comments. And those of you who are watching the replay, I always circle back to catch the replays. So yes, you too. If you feel like one component of this, drop a one in the comments. If you're feeling two components of the burnout, drop a two in the box. And if you know that you're feeling all three of those components, exhaustion, cynicism, the lack of your ability to think you can even do well anymore at that job, right? Either one, two, or three, drop it in the comments and I'll look for those. Okay. So in order, and this is the big piece of why I'm doing this particular live, and this is what is so important, is in order to recover from burnout, right? You need several things. Number one, you do need to take a look at your job. And if your job isn't going to do better, and it's been like that for 5-10 years, then you probably need to leave the job. You need to not like quit right now and start, leave, but start the process, right? That's what we as career coaches help you do. Find a better place. Because you can do all the personal stuff that I'm about to give you, but if your workplace encourages burnout, you'll always have this issue. Okay. So there I said it. Sometimes you got to go. And so LaShonda said two. She has two of the symptoms, and Holly says she has one. And then I have a Facebook user who says that burnout. I left the corporate world and started my own business. So I'm with you, Facebook user. It wasn't burnout, but I left I left that space because it wasn't conducive to my mental health and or my physical health. Right. Thanks ladies for contributing here. So yes, there are steps that you can take. And before, and I know that I said, you need to leave that job if the job is encouraging the burnout, but you won't be able to do that until you start recovering. And so that's what I'm here to do, to share today, right? You need a couple of things. So one of those things is you need rest, right? Rest is important. And rest is actually more important than sleep. It's just as important, maybe a little bit more important than sleep. Okay. I'm not saying that sleep isn't important because 52% of women said they have sleep issues. That is compared to only 32% of men over the pandemic, over the past 3 years or so. 52% of women said, I have sleep issues, which does go into affects your stress level and how you recover from burnout, right? But you also need rest. So I'm going to ask the question. Have you, and you have had enough sleep? You got your 7, 8, 9 hours, whatever it is that you need to get. Have you ever awakened the next morning and felt completely exhausted? Even after having the 7, 8, 9 hours of sleep, did you wake up feeling totally exhausted? Almost as if your head hit the pillow and 8 hours later seemed like 2 minutes and you're back up again, right? And so if you've ever felt that, drop a 4 in the comments for me. Again, the question is have you ever went to sleep, went to bed and got 7, 8, you got the recommended sleep. So one LinkedIn user said every day, right? So the problem is that you're not getting rest, because rest and sleep are two different things. So yes, you can get your 7, 8, 9 hours of sleep and wake up when you're in burnout and wake up feeling exhausted. It is because you need rest, right? And I'm going to share with you the 7 types of rests that you need in order to help you resolve and recover from burnout. Okay. And these are in no particular order, but number one is mental rest. And you know that you need mental rest because you can't seem to think any positive thoughts. Again, like with cynicism, they're all negative. Things will never get better. I really don't care. And I can try that. It never works. It's not going to work. I don't care what that points to you needing mental rest. Right. And so it's extricating yourself. So Holly said yes, she did, get her 7, 8, 9 hours of sleep and woke up the next morning and was totally exhausted because you need rest in addition to sleep. Okay. The second type of rest, and again, no particular order, second type of rest is sensory rest. So think about it. With the advent of smartphones, now I have all of my alerts turned off. My phone doesn't ring for Twitter, beep for Twitter, buzz for Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and nobody else. It just doesn't, right? But think about how much we have. Like, I have 2 cell phones. I got a work cell phone and a personal. I know people with 3. They used to be me until I got rid of one of those. But all day long, you're getting sensory notifications. And even now they got the little red dots on things on your phone to make you look at them. That's sensory data that you're getting in all day, every day. All right. Screen time, that sensory data, right? Even if you're in the workplace, if you're still working inside the office, there are different things that happen in that building, that sensory data. You're collecting it all day, every day. And so at some point, you need to cut off all that or as much as you can for sensory rest. Give yourself that break, right? And so I know some folks that have a no tech day or no tech 6 hours or no tech 3 hours or whatever it is. Very important. No matter how long you do it, I mean, you obviously need to do it more than 5 minutes. Okay, come on. You need to do a little bit more than that. But you do need to take a break because that's consistent sensory data. And that's a rest that you need to take, sensory rest. Number three is physical rest. Okay. And some of us are like, we're on that churn. We're up 4 or 5. So one LinkedIn user says she has one of the symptoms or he has one of the symptoms. Thank you so much. So some of us are on that, we're on that roll. You're up 4:35 in the morning and you're taking care of lunches, you're taking care of kids. Some of you are going to someone else's house and you're doing caregiving. You come back to your house, you finish up, and then you get in your car, you get on the metro or what have you, and you go to work. And then you work all day long. And then you get off work and you go work out. And then you work out. You may go pick up this kid, go to this activity, sit at a baseball game, a basketball game, a football game, a soccer game, a yoga class, whatever it is, right? Physical rest. You need physical rest. Yes, it is important and different from sleep. Okay. Number four, a lot of people don't think about it, but you need spiritual rest. Your mind, body, and spirit needs rest as well. For many of us, that's connecting back with our religion, whatever that is. Okay. For others, it's a sense of finding purpose. That's your spiritual rest. You don't even know what your purpose is anymore, or you took a job that didn't match your purpose and now you're burned out and you need to go back and readjust. So, yes, you do need spiritual rest. And for those of you that are introverts, that time in nature helps with spiritual rest. Okay. And that kind of dovetails into number five, emotional rests. You need emotional rest. And this is important. How many people out there are empaths? I am. Okay. So for my folks that are empaths, and for those of you that are introverts, emotional rest is very, very important, as well as if you're a people pleaser. Emotional rest is so important because you're around people, and if you're an empath, you're feeling the emotions, you're taking on stuff. You sometimes you don't know when your feelings stop and someone else's start. Having that all day, every day, you have to get that emotional rest. Take those breaks, right? And it dovetails again into number seven. I'm sorry, number six, social rests. This is where you disconnect from people and spend time alone doing introspection and reflection. And again, for my empaths and my introverts, very important for you. And even extroverts, you need social rest, maybe not as long as someone who's an introvert or someone who's an empath, but you do need social rest to disconnect from the world and spend that time alone. And then number seven, the last type of rest that you need is creative rest. That's important. And I get ladies in that I coach, and especially folks that are artistic and they used to paint or they used to draw or they create things, they're musicians, and they're like, I don't get to do that anymore because I'm at this job and it's consuming all my time. Well, being a creative is a part of you. And so you need time to nurture to that part of you. And even if you're not an artist or a musician, you still need creative rest. And what I coach my ladies to do is create space where you're not accomplishing anything. You don't have a to-do list. I got to do that. So when I say create space, I always ask people to start maybe 30 minutes to an hour, because if you try to do a 5 hour space of not doing anything, your brain is driving you off the wall and you're not going to accomplish anything. But start off with 30 minutes or an hour that you create not to accomplish anything, but just to sit and be. Our brains are at their most creative when we're not doing stuff. When we don't have a to-do list and a to-do list about the other list, and then another to-do list because we want to, and I'm guilty of that. I know. I love my to-do list. But we're most creative when we create space where we're not accomplishing anything. We just get to the space and just be led by whatever we're led by, right? If it says lay down in the grass on a blanket and stare up at the clear blue sky, then do it. I used to first became a therapist because a lot of people Also know that I'm a licensed therapist. At the end of the day, I used to just take the last 15 to 30 minutes of the day, stare at a wall to be sure I let everything come down. That's a kind of creative rest. I just kind of went blank and just didn't have anything scheduled. That's so important because some of us are scheduled to the hilt every single day. On our jobs, we're scheduled out the wazoo with meetings and projects and tasks and everything. And then in our personal lives and with our kids, we're scheduled. Create that space to get that creative space, right? You will be surprised at how creative you are. And also, you're a much better problem solver when you create space in your life to get that creative space. Okay. So, those are the 7 types of rest that you need in addition to sleep. And that's in addition to eating properly. All those go into helping you recover from burnout, right? So, thank you for those of you who made it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Because that is what is very important. This is so important. This is a huge piece of recovering from burnout, right? And so I do have a PDF and it has a list of 10 questions that you need to ask yourself to figure out if you are actually in burnout zone, right? Drop burnout zone in the comments and I'll reach out to you and I'll send that to you, right? And then after this, I'll throw a link out there as well so you can access that PDF. It is simple. You go down the 10 questions and ask, right? Yes or no. And it will let you know, again, if you're in burnout zone or not. All you need is one of the 3 components: exhaustion, cynicism, and a lack of professional or personal efficacy. You only need one of those to be in burnout. That's it, just one. And so everyone that answered 1, 2, or 3, yes, you're in burnout. But taking these types of rest, all 7, like not one over the other, but all 7 in sleep and diet will help you to start recovering from burnout, right? So if you found this live helpful, give me a thumbs up, share it with someone who you know can use it, right? And you can catch the replay. For those of you who are catching this on the replay, thank you as well. If you're catching my replay on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to my channel while you're there. That way you get notified every time I drop a live in any other videos. All right. And so again, this month I'm doing a series on unlocking the secrets of career success. And you want to be back here next week when I talk about recognizing the difference between stress and anxiety, because yes, there is a difference. All right. So, so I have a LinkedIn user that says, I like to say, even brilliant people cannot speak through a crying heart. We all need balance. Oh my gosh. Yes, 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 yes. You still need that space to be alone. Even my extroverts, you need space to be alone. It may not be 5 hours, or 2 weeks like that. Some of us introverts need to do, but you still need that social rest. You need each parts of those rest. Okay. Because for some folks, crying is a way to release, and that's a spiritual release. It's a way to get spiritual rest as well. So we all get it a little differently. Thank you. So I have a LinkedIn user that says, great talk. Thank you so much for your feedback. I love it, love it, love it. And so if I don't see any more comments, thank you for being here. And again, join me back here at the same time next week. It's 8:35 Eastern Time, 7:35 Central Time, 5:35 on the Pacific Coast. And I will see you all next week. Thank you. You too. Thank you. You're welcome, Facebook user. Take care. Bye bye.